All right, you guys, storyteller number 7 tonight. Here comes Paul, everybody. Let's hear it for Paul.
As my kids would say, happy Halloweeny. Anyway, that's creepy in itself. Many years ago, I was a young police officer in a small desert town in Southern California. And I'd been a cop maybe 3 or 4 years. So, of course, I knew everything, had done everything. There was nothing you could do that would surprise me. And in thinking that way, I forgot the first rule of law enforcement, which was nothing is ever routine. It was a Monday afternoon, which is typically a very slow day in law enforcement because either they haven't got out of jail yet or they haven't sobered up. I'm driving down the highway in my mobile office and I get a call from dispatch. 402, stand by to copy. 402, go ahead. 402, check the welfare. And 402, go to 2. Now, when dispatch asks you to go to channel 2, that means they have a little bit more information they want to share with you. We don't want to use the main channel in case there's emergency traffic. So I'm on 2. Dispatch says, well, we got this call from the hospital. Turns out this guy had a heart attack, drove himself to the hospital, but he's concerned about his wife because she hasn't been there to see him yet, and he's been there 2 days. So could you go to their house and make sure she's okay? Give me the address. So I drive down to the home. It's on the outskirts of town, almost out there by itself. And as I pull up to the house and I get out of my car, halfway up the driveway, I realize that this call is anything but routine. It was a very warm desert day, and I noticed this aroma that I had smelled before many times, unfortunately, that led me to believe when I knocked on the door, nobody was going to answer. So I walked up to the screen door. The main door is open. Not an aroma. The smell was horrible. And I looked inside, and I could see in the kitchen 2 legs on the floor. So I'm trying to rip open the door, and I'm calling dispatch on my radio, telling them, call the house. I want to make sure I'm at the right house, number 1, because we may have 2 calls right now, and I want to make sure where I'm at. Of course, the phone starts to ring. I rip the door off, go inside, and what I find startled me, because laying on the floor was a body that, for obvious reasons, this person had passed many days prior. I don't want to get into flies and other things like that, but it had been there for a while. So here's this body in the womb position on the floor. I'm thinking to myself, well, I know why she probably hasn't gone to see her husband, but this doesn't make any sense at all. So I call dispatch back and I let them know what I have, and they said, well, we'll contact the coroner. He's probably going to call you there at the house. And he calls me and he says, what's going on? I explained the story to him. He says, that doesn't make any sense. 2 days is not enough time for all those other issues to occur. I said, I know that. I've been doing this 3 or 4 years. I know everything. He says, I'm on my way. So I did a search of the home while I was waiting for him, and what was really unusual was the entire home, all the walls stacked to the ceiling, were these KFC lunch boxes, just the cardboard lunch boxes. The entire house stacked to the ceiling. I was thinking about Howard Hughes when I was walking through the house. And then these big jars of change. And that was it. So the coroner got there. We took care of business and got this person loaded up to go to their office where they're going to obviously conduct an autopsy. Now we have all kinds of questions. I'm calling the detective unit. They're getting involved because what this husband at the hospital is telling us, it doesn't jive. So I'm on my way to the hospital to interview him, and on the way I'm told that he just passed. So now I have no witness to whatever crime may have been committed or who knows what. They do the autopsy. They can't find anything other than natural causes. But this lady was in her 90s. So it just kind of got pushed to the side because it couldn't go any farther. 6 or 7 months go by. I'm on my routine patrol, going down that same street, and this older lady runs in front of my police car. I almost hit her. And she waves at me, and I stopped, and she comes up to the window, and she says, "Officer, aren't you the one that was here a few months ago taking care of Mrs. McGillicuddy?" I said, "That was me." She says, "I have to tell you a quick story. I don't want you to think I'm crazy." I said, "Go ahead." She said, "Well, I knew her, and her husband used to go everywhere all the time in that little pickup truck of his. And every time they went somewhere, she had this newspaper she put up against the window to block the sun. The last couple weeks, when I saw her, she wasn't holding that newspaper, and she looked really dark." And I said, "I don't think you're crazy, and I don't think I'm crazy, but I'll leave it to you to decide if this is true love or just a little creepy." Thank you.